Welcome once again to the newspaper review. Now, currently, we are being joined by Tessalimi Yusuf. He is a tech expert. We will be talking about recent escapades in Twitter and what Elon Musk is up to. Good morning, Mr. Tessalimi Yusuf, and welcome to the newspaper review.
Hi, good morning. How are you today?
I'm fine. It's good to have you this morning.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yes. Now, let's get down to discussion this morning. Lately, Twitter has just been bought by the world's richest man, Elon Musk, for $44 billion. But before we talk about what Elon Musk is up to, let's talk about where the buying of Twitter concerns Nigeria. If you remember vividly, during the #EndSARS protest in Nigeria, the government suspended the Twitter, the social media blogging company, because of the role it was perceived or suspected of playing during the protests. And after that, Twitter, the suspension was lifted. There was an agreement between the government and Twitter. We don't really know the details of the agreement, but what do you think? Do you think that agreement will still stand, or now that Twitter is in another hand, it's going to be reviewed?
Oh, thank you for the question.
Yes.
I think that's going to change at some point, but just we need to take note that the acquisition process with Twitter that is going on now usually will take a couple of months, maybe 8 to 9 months sometimes, before the paperwork are completed. The agreement between Nigeria and Twitter may not come to the forefront as a priority for now, but eventually, definitely that was going to be looked into, and that might be changed. Usually a change of management typically would influence a change in strategy. So we expect that at some point in the next couple of months, the agreement between Twitter and Nigeria is going to change.
Okay, if it changes, there's some speculations rather. There are some speculations that those agreements somehow have to do with the rules and the policies of Twitter regarding the kind of statements that users on the platform launch, most especially when it has to do with government, the authorities, and how people are very, very critical of government or governing authorities. Do you think it's going to work in favor or against?
So again, I think what we need to look at is how some of these microblogging social media platforms have grown over the years, and how they become like the voice for the everyday person on the screen. Bear in mind, it's a system where everybody now has a voice behind a technology platform, which then means anybody on the street could literally have an opinion on anything. This, over the years, has become so strong. It has become a political tool, a business tool, as well as other tools for collaboration and social engagement in the society. But the real part is always the political impact of these microblogging platforms on the everyday lives of people, and as well by direction. It also affects how governments all around the world today see that that's a platform where you have a lot of people, so people use it for a lot of political communications across board. Now, here's the problem. People are generally always either on the far left or on the far right, and sometimes with a neutral opinion, because it's also a mass market where, except you crunch the data, you probably would want to know the direction of the thoughts of the people. So when the government, platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and the likes, they potentially could affect the growth or the downfall of any government. If you notice, Twitter is more of a leftist kind of platform, where the censorship program over the years has kind of not gone down well with a lot of governments, including the United States government. You notice that the Democrats are more on the left side, for example, in the U.S., and they are very critical about what the Republicans do. And the Republicans, on the other hand, in the U.S., they tend to feel that some of these platforms too leftist for them. Therefore, they are not hearing their view effectively, and then they need to be kind of censored as well. So there is a continuous back and forth between how opinions are heard on those platforms. Remember, they call that the former president, Donald Trump, in the U.S. was banned on the platform because of his views. And this purchase may have a lot of effect because, of course, Elon Musk is a billionaire. The Democrats in the United States believe that billionaires should pay more taxes. Typically, a lot of billionaires in the West, in the modern day world, they are able to effectively avoid paying a lot of taxes. So therefore, they are not popular with the leftist agenda. Now, on the other hand, if you look at the average person on the street, a lot of them are leftists. They believe that the rich are kind of, cornering all the resources available to their own advantage because of the enormous power that they wield. So again, the purchase of Twitter, just to go back to what Elon Musk is doing, is going to have a significant effect in the political landscape. It could also lead potentially to the demise of the platform. And this is the other angle that people are not looking at. Because if you have a lot of people moving out of the platform, then, there will be all sorts of new platforms and people kind of embrace some new platforms to, hear their views, especially when it does not align if Twitter eventually goes more rightward. So these are some of the far-reaching implications of his purchase.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Tessalimi. Now, when you made some form of comparison with the United States of America about the left and the right, I remember in the reports, Mr. Elon Musk put out a particular poll requesting people's feedback if Twitter is actually protecting privacy, or if he's actually giving people the right to voice their opinions, because people are equally making their reservation and their grievances concerning Twitter's policies that is somewhat harsh because it curtails expression as well. And the government itself is battling Twitter or social media generally, platforms, for not, cracking down and censoring people's opinion about this authority. So it looks like Twitter is at the center and everybody seems to be beating on its head.
So, that's expected because if you look at it, for example, you would find the Iranian supreme leader, Ayatollah, and his extreme views being heard on Twitter, and he's not censored. Well, you would also find Donald Trump and his cronies also using Twitter to energize their followers, and of course, recently the insurrection that happened last year. So, and then they are censored. So even among the Twitter employees,
and the case of Nigeria too.
So in the case of Nigeria, for example, Nigeria and many other
tweet of the president was deleted. Yes.
Correct. So the tweet of the Nigerian president was deleted, whereas maybe, if you allow, maybe Zakaki or Daniel Kanu's tweet probably would not be deleted. So even these policies have not been very consistent. To be fair, with Twitter, because it depends on the opinion of the people that are regulating the views on Twitter. And of course, people can also escalate issues and, maybe make complaints about certain particular kind of tweets being offensive or not being offensive. So the policy is not black and white. It's a shade of gray across board. So it's difficult to really say that they've been fair or they have not been fair. But the reality is that the platform is an open platform for a lot of people to air their views. These are ordinary people that would ordinarily not, come out to speak publicly to regular press houses like yours and many newspapers and TVs. But on the internet, everybody does not necessarily have to have a face before their voice can be heard. So it's really, really difficult to say that they are right or wrong. It is the opinion of the implementers of these policies. Just yesterday, the chief legal officer for Twitter was crying about the the takeover, she was really upset. And of course, Elon Musk was already attacking their two female top executives about their bias and their kind of left-centric views on Twitter and its future. So a whole lot of things will come up, I mean, with the takeover eventually.
All right.
But what is the fact now is that...
please. Excuse me. Okay, right. Yes. Now that you mentioned some things about the views of the takeover by Elon Musk, when you mentioned about the legal prosecutor or the legal representative for Twitter was lamenting. Let's talk about where Elon Musk is up to, or what is Elon Musk up to by acquiring Twitter?
So the way my view of this is kind of very interesting. You know, when you have enormous amount of wealth, like way over 200 billion. So what you have is what I would tag, you can call it cash as a weapon. He has a lot of money to play around with. And you know, these guys, they enjoy the game of playing around with their money. If you look at Bill Gates, for example, you could use this power to either do some philanthropic things, you could use it for political things, you could also use it to play games in the financial market. Elon Musk will suddenly go and buy crypto for $1 billion worth of crypto. Yeah. He has over 200 billion. Yes. He could do that. He could say, oh, what's the next big thing that will be in the news? Oh, let me take over this platform. I have enough resources to do it. And that was why when he made his offer, he said, oh, $43 million, take it or leave it offer. I want to take it private. So when you have that kind of money, you have enormous resources, and you start playing what I call the games of the rich. You want to play around with the money. Oh, what can I do? Let me buy a social media platform. Let me control the voice of the people. Oh, let me buy into crypto.
Okay, Mr. Teselimi.
Let me control the resources of the people.
Mr. Teselimi, sorry again, I have to come in here. You mentioned something very, very critical, which is where I'm heading. Let me buy the voice of the people. Now, if you remember vividly, some time ago, the owner of Facebook, which is now owned by Meta, the name of the owner of
Zuckerberg.
Facebook. Yes, Mr. Zuckerberg was summoned to appear before Congress in the United States, and it was being questioned about the privacy of people, if Facebook was actually protecting the privacy and the privacy data policies and all those things. There's this fear, not only in the United States, not only in Nigeria, but also in China, in Korea, and other countries, including Russia recently, where they feel that the owners of social media blogging sites seem to become very, very powerful all of a sudden, that they can infiltrate government statistics and data, and it seems like they wield more power than the governments of the day. Is that a positive?
I think they're actually very right, because you see, when you are able to control the direction of thought of a large number of people, you start wielding enormous political power, aside from the, of course, financial reward that you will get from being able to do that. These people became billionaires because a lot of people are using the platform. Facebook, for example, has over 4 billion users. I mean, that's about half of the people of the world. Think about it. How many politicians have that kind of followership or usage or platform? So they start wielding enormous amount of power. I'm sure, and you would agree with me, that when a lot of these platforms were being built, even the people who built it, Zuckerberg and the like, they didn't know how powerful it could become. We have seen the Arab Spring and all that, and they all happened on Facebook and, of course, Twitter. You know, so people eventually found a way to let their voice be heard on a seemingly invisible platform that also, and they could, of course, alter the algorithm to show what people, imagine if, for example, Twitter is decided to make it look like the Nigerian government are responsible for the election massacre. They could easily do that by just making sure that anything that has to do with in that view is amplified on the algorithm and is trending, and anything that opposes it can be censored systematically. Already, if you look at what has happened today, as of yesterday, the right-wing users of Twitter in the U.S., especially people who have the Republican interest, like Donald Trump Jr. and DeSantis,
yes,
they already have increase in their number of followers. Whereas Obama, who has always been one of has the biggest followership on Twitter, has lost about 5,003 followers. And even Alexander Ocasio, you probably know the popular senator.
Yeah.
She's lost about 20,000 followers. And how is that able to happen overnight? You wouldn't say that more people are signing up to follow or to unfollow them on Twitter. But it's simply the question of, are you guys being biased or is the algorithm being altered? So when you control this platform, you have enormous amount of power, and you could either use it for social good or social evil, as the case is.
All right. Now let's look at it from another perspective. Do remember very well that former president of the United States, Donald Trump, when Twitter actually deleted his account and suspended him from the platform, he said he wasn't going to beg or try to come back. He went to form or put plans in place to erect his own social media platforms. There have been speculations that Mr. Trump could have some level of cooperation or affinity or plan with Mr. Musk to bring Twitter to an end. Is that possible?
Well, you wouldn't rule that out. I mean, we know Donald Trump for who he is. He has his own opinion. He may not be popular with a lot of people, but I'm also sure that he has his own followers. And of course, he was never happy because Twitter was the main platform he was using to energize his followership and his base. And that has a significant impact in the outcome of elections in the United States. So, of course, he did try to set up his own platform. But we know that hasn't been largely successful because, it takes a lot to get a lot of people to believe in the platform, to trust the platform.
Yes.
Already people see him as a political figure with his own bias. So who knows? It may or may not be the case whether they have agreement. But we also know that Trump and Elon Musk, there is no love lost between them. They are both right-wing people. I mean, they are billionaires in the same circle. They both don't like to pay taxes and all the likes, Okay. So there's a possibility, but you can't rule that out.
Okay. Now, will the acquisition of Twitter by Elon Musk, can it lead to the demise of the platform?
It could, because the moment people start losing trust in the leadership of the platform. If you notice what is happening on Facebook, for example, there's been a massive drop in the number of users of Facebook. And you notice that there's been an uptick in the number of users on TikTok, especially among the millennials and Gen Zs. So what happens is that you remember that these are also they also have commercial impact as well. Okay. One moment you start having people leaving the platform, then there will be less advertisements. There's a limit to how long Elon Musk is going to keep pumping on it. I mean, for him, he's just playing games. But to the average user of Twitter, this is a very important platform for them, either to air their views or to transact businesses or to reach potential customers.
All right.
So if Twitter is not able to maintain that level, because he said he's taking it private, what I mean is that they are going to stop advertisement and make people start subscribing. Yes. And subscription will be by Bitcoin. So that's a massive change, knowing that even with Bitcoin, it goes, it's very popular with some set of people, and a lot of people are still regulated currency. So there's a whole lot of uncertainties around this, to be honest.
All right. Mr. Tessalimi Yusuf, I would have loved to continue this conversation with you, but maybe some other time we would like to talk about how social media platforms build trust with their users and how they are able to generate 44 billion users across the globe. And we would like to look at issues like that. But at the moment, we are pressed for time, and we want to say a very big thank you for your time this morning. It has been quite been interesting.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you very much.